when you think about the effect on airline activity and airline employment, it's not just the employees who work for the airline, and it's not just the employees who work for the ground service people doing fueling and cleaning the labs on the ramp. You're also talking about the taxi drivers who are picking up passengers at the airport, and then go a step further and think about the little sandwich joint that you don't see that's at the taxi pool where the taxi drivers are waiting to pick up fares, and that guy is sort of down the chain. That guy is losing business too. So you just think about the web of business that U.S. airlines are tied to, and it just filters all the way through the economy. It's incredible.
Revenues are going to be down $252 billion this year, according to the airline industry group IATA. That's just an estimate, and that's a number they put out earlier this week. It's more than double an estimate that they had put out earlier in March, and it could well turn out to be worse because nobody really knows how long this is going to go on. Many of those airlines that have suspended operations are smaller ones, but even now some of the biggest ones are virtually shutting down. Singapore, Lufthansa, Ryanair are scaling back operations 95% and just maintaining service on a few critical routes. And in the US, we're headed in that direction too.
Italy did halt the flow of people, but almost at the same time, the traffic, that the passengers who would otherwise have been flying in and out of Italy stopped flying anyway. So it's almost like it doesn't matter whether the halt is driven by government regulation or by the behavior of individuals. And so we saw already as the infections spiked in Italy, the demand started to fall off all the way across Europe. And then in response to the demand falling off, the airlines canceled flights.
American Airlines said this morning that they're going to expand the cuts that they were planning. They're now going to be reducing service 60% in April and 80% in May. Delta, the strongest airline in the world by far, they're going to be cutting capacity 70%. And if there's a downturn in business travel, that would be very serious for airlines. Business travelers are their most lucrative customers.
You know, if you have union agreements or employment agreements such that you're going to have to continue to pay all your employees even as you don't use them, that's 35% of your costs that don't get reduced. That's one path that can happen to airlines. And then you have other scenarios where the airlines are actually able to lay off or furlough those employees. So we're starting to see a resumption and an uptick of travel in China is coming back up more slowly than we had seen for the recovery after the other epidemics. And given the breadth and the scale of the way the way COVID has affected daily life and so many people, it's not unreasonable to think that the recovery of activity would take longer. But I think it really is going to depend much more on the public policy, on how the public policy plays out rather than on what the airlines do.